So welcome to another episode in the series, in the mini-series called Be One of the Voices with the Student Success Spotlight. And today I have got a pleasure of speaking to Becs McBride. Hello, Becs.
Hi, Anetta.
Hello. Thank you so much for taking time to speak with me today. And so, I invited you to talk a little bit about your experience of completing and doing the training, the trauma-informed somatic teacher and coach for women, the training certification there. And you were one of the beta cohort
Yes, I was.
participants and you completed in January. And so I think it will be really, really great to hear about your experience and the kind of changes that happened in your personal life, in the way that you take care of yourself, and also in the way that you work with clients in your business. So let me just ask you, first of all, why did you sign up for that training certification?
Yeah, so thank you for inviting me on here, by the way, first of all.
Thank you for coming.
I stumbled across you, Anetta, I think it was in the pandemic days in 2020, and I really liked what you were talking about, this idea of teaching in a more trauma-informed way. And I think for me, moving through the pandemic and the lockdowns, it was really clear to me that I needed to teach in a different way. My clients needed something more than what I had been offering before. And so I had this idea that I wanted to start teaching in this more trauma-informed way so that I could start to really meet them where they were, after the pandemic, etc.
Mm.
And I had looked into one of your smaller trainings at that time, and as if by magic, you were just launching your 160-hour somatic coach and teacher training course. And it just felt like perfect timing for me. When I looked at the content, it went over and beyond what I was looking for. So I didn't really have to give it much thought.
Okay,
Yeah.
lovely, lovely. So if you can say a few words about, so what do you do as within your work? I think that might be kind of nice to
Yeah,
put
of
it in
course.
context.
Yeah, so I've been teaching yoga and meditation for about 10 years now.
Mm.
So started off with lots of different classes, and then obviously during the pandemic, I moved my business online. And since then, I've been teaching more privately within my local area, so lots of work in that way. And yeah, obviously now introducing the new stuff, the somatics, and yeah.
Lovely. So how has your work changed? So let's talk, let's talk about the work and obviously about your own personal self-care. And you can start with whichever one comes to mind
Yeah,
first.
yeah. So I mean, I think if I start with my personal kind of practice, um, I just have this ability now to be able to meet my needs in a much better way, in a much more empowered way. Um, Obviously, I was, taking care of myself before, but I think the nervous system regulation, which is a big part of the course, has been quite life-changing for me, actually. I feel that I have much more clear boundaries. So, yeah.
Boundaries, big thing.
Yes. So personally and professionally as well. So I think that then that has changed my relationships in a really positive way. Yeah. So
Mm.
I think in terms of how it's changed my work, just I I want to say a softer approach in terms of how I teach and work with my clients now. The ability to um, meet their needs. So it's not just about, meeting my own needs, but now I can meet their needs in a much more empowered way for them as well. So
Mm.
yeah, bringing in the somatics and teaching them about nervous system regulation, seasonal living, which was a really big thing that I pulled from the course.
Mm.
And they're, my clients are very receptive to that as well. They're really enjoying it. So yeah.
Yeah. There was something, we were talking about because we are similar age. And
Yeah.
obviously, we talked about the life seasons, women's life seasons.
Mm,
And we both are kind of, around 50 and moving into the kind of early autumn of our life and being in that wise woman stage. And I wonder, is there anything that you noticed in kind of embracing that a little bit more? Or, I mean, you
yeah.
said that meeting your needs in a more empowered way, but could you say a little bit more
Yeah,
about
of
that?
course. Yeah. So I felt that I was actually resisting that kind of change in my life before the course, actually.
Mm,
Wasn't willing to kind of accept that I was moving towards perimenopause.
mm,
And so there was some resistance there in terms of me trying to continue living in a way that I had previously lived, but clearly that wasn't working for me. And so then just being able to understand where I was in that cycle helped me to embrace it so much more and to actually, yeah, just run with it. And then when I did that, everything just felt like it fell into place, if that makes sense.
lovely, lovely. I think that's a big thing, isn't it? It's like we live in this society that glamorizes youth, and there is that resistance, especially in women, in men as well,
Yes.
but in especially in women, this glamorization of youth and the productivity and working really hard in a way that is quite driven and based on hustle and pushing rather than a bit more
Absolutely.
feminine way of embracing your needs and actually finding the rhythm of work that supports not just your clients but also nourishes you and allows you to thrive rather than being in the constant survival mode. but
Absolutely.
but I
Yeah.
wanted to ask, what was your experience of doing the training? Because you know, when I think about you, I think about all the challenges and difficulties and the big life things that you have gone through,
Yeah.
during the training. And,
Yeah.
I'm in awe of how you held it all together and kind of was seeking support and came through it and completed the course. So
Yeah.
I wonder if you could say a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the course was life-changing for me personally. Just a few weeks after the course started, obviously, I went through, a major sort of life-changing event. I lost my dad. So,
Mm,
that was a really big thing to go through. And what I found was that the course, it lovingly held me like a hot water bottle. This just feels very comforting. And it was a very safe space within that course, that I felt I could bring all of my vulnerabilities, that I did, there was no pressure for me at all to share on the days that I didn't want to, but just this sense of being held. And then, yeah, just obviously, going through another major life event, not long after that one, it really felt that, yeah, it was a really challenging time for me in my life. And the good thing about that was that the course was actually teaching me the tools to navigate that situation, practices that would actually help me to move through that period of my life. And I don't think that I would have bounced back in the way that I have done had I not had that support,
mm,
and those practices. Actually, it was
yeah.
almost like, I was putting it into practice, in real life time. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
such a wonderful proof, that the practices work there. And like that's one of the things, we are both yoga teachers and and yoga's been big part of our lives. And one of the things that always is kind of challenging is like yoga, you have to roll out your mat, get on the mat and do specific practices. Whereas with somatic practices, especially somatic practices for nervous system regulation, you can do them anywhere. You can do
Yes.
them sitting in your chair or lying in your bed or being
Yeah.
in the bath, or, it's like they're so much more accessible. And when you add those,
Yeah.
they really support you. And I
Yeah.
always say that it's really rubbish practices if you can only do them when you feel good,
Yeah.
when you feel motivated or enthusiastic or focused. Or
Mhm.
actually the best practices are the ones that you can do when you're not feeling good, that
Yeah.
actually hold you and
Yeah.
support you through that
Mm.
process.
Yeah. And I think it comes back to that softer approach that I talked about as well, where
Mm,
um, it felt that the way that I'd been teaching previously, whilst there was nothing wrong with that, but it was very prescriptive and
mm,
almost just those hard edges of kind of what was going on there, with the asana and etc. Whereas to bring in this approach, the somatic approach, just it's exactly what I think is needed actually at this
yeah.
time and in the world that we live in. So
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I really want to point out in here that you are mindfulness teacher and yoga teacher. You were never really teaching hard yoga
no.
and approaches anyway.
Yeah.
But there is this different, much softer, as you said, much more
Yeah.
embracing and empowering and collaborative approach that
Yeah.
comes with the somatic approach and trauma-informed somatic approach. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's, giving the power to my clients that, they practice in a way that feels good for them. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I wanted to ask because you did a workshop recently
I did. Yes.
where you brought all of that kind of stuff. I just wanted to ask if you could tell us a little bit about that and
Yeah.
how different that was to uh, all the other day retreats and workshops that you've done over the
Yeah.
last 10 years.
Yeah, so I mean, previously I've been running a lot of yoga retreats. So I decided to run um, a retreat that was based in somatics and seasonal living.
Mhm.
So this one was themed around spring, and yeah, I was interested to kind of see how it would be perceived by my clients because it was so different to anything that I'd taught before. And I just went in there with the very simple practices, that actually, the grounding, the orienting, that kind of thing, and somatic movement. And the feedback that I had from, the clients on that day were that it was, brilliant. They absolutely loved it. The seasonal living, they're really enjoying that. They're incorporating it into their own lives now as well.
Mhm.
And I kind of feel like I'm starting this mini revolution that you sometimes have talked about in the sense of, so it's sort of teaching that they don't have to be in this rat race, that they can kind of step out of it and they can do their own thing, that feels more aligned with what they need. So yeah, it was just really well received, the event. So I'm really excited to run the next one.
Ah, lovely,
Mm.
lovely. I mean, the disconnection that we have for many of us, or majority of us, of living in this connection with nature and seasonal living, and
Yeah,
how important it is as you get, when you are younger, you don't really pay attention, but as you get older, in order to really feel grounded and stable and connected and have, sustaining energy, to do the things that you want to do and to stay healthy, it's really, really one of the key things, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely, definitely.
lovely.
Yeah, thank you.
And yeah, if I think about this, we had many conversations about the burnout and your own story of burnout and how,
Yeah,
seasonal living and embracing the season of your life can really support you in
yeah,
your life and actually prevent burnout. prevent this kind of
Definitely.
exhaustion and
100%.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So as you know, I experienced, it was a really serious burnout. It was in 2021, and it took me 18 months to actually recover from that.
Mm.
And I knew that I needed to find a different approach that, was very different to what was, being talked about with the rest of the world in terms of this, push, push, push. So actually, this approach that, that you offer is actually just helping me to prevent, going through another burnout. And actually, I feel really passionate about that now. So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it that, from each group, each participant of the training takes something slightly different, like,
Okay, yeah,
resonate in a slightly different way and make it your own.
yeah,
And that is really aligned with your passion and your story. And as you said, making little revolutions here and there and seeing where it takes you, where it takes your clients.
yeah,
So if I ask you what did you love the most, I know you already mentioned a few things, but if I ask you what did you love the most about the training, what would you say?
yeah. I mean, there's so much to love actually with the training. The content, the knowledge that you offer within the course it's just brilliant. It's just what every woman needs to know, I think. So I think that is one of the big things for me, but the practices as well. Different practices that you offer every week. It was just fantastic and really simple that I can bring into my own practice. The meeting of the like-minded women as well, that safe space that you hold for us all. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to love.
Yeah, lovely. Lovely. I mean, the community is really amazing, isn't it? Because you
Yeah.
all came from slightly different backgrounds and with different trainings and with different points of views and different life experience. And it was such a powerful way of learning, of actually not
Yes.
just learning the knowledge, but actually having discussions, doing practices, reflections. Yeah,
Integration, it
yeah.
never felt, it was very spacious in the sense that it never felt like I was cramming in the information. There was always that time for integration, and yeah, which I think is really important given, everything that I was also going through at that time, to be able to hold that together. So yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So one last question.
Mhm.
If you were to say something about how I work and how I deliver training, if somebody's watching and they kind of like the stuff, but they're not sure about, whether it's right for them or whether I'm the right trainer for them, what would you say?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, you're credible, and the high level of integrity as well is something that really stood out for me from the start. I think with you, Annetta, you walk the talk, you kind of lead by example, you're walking the path. And I think that's something that I really look for when I'm looking for a teacher and a mentor is someone that is really leading by example, and you definitely do that. So I think your passion about the subject just really, it shines through as well. And I think that's what makes the course so wonderful, is that, it's kind of coming from that, from the heart. So yeah.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Bex.
Oh,
One
my
last
pleasure.
question.
Okay.
Where can people find your work if they want to, follow up with you and they're interested in what you are doing or they want to connect?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, and I have a website as well. I don't know if shall I post the link
I
or
will post it with
yeah,
the,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I have a
yeah.
website, and yes, I have a newsletter that goes out a couple of times a month with lots of packed full of information. So hopefully lots of different ways people can connect with me.
Okay. And the kind of handles that you use on social media are
Yeah, Beck's Mindful Yoga. Yeah.
lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Bex, for taking time to speak with me today. And for being part of the training and the community. And I look forward to seeing how everything unfolds for you.
Thank you, Annetta. Thank you for having me on here. Thank you.
Thank you.